Welcome to another episode of Parenthood Lifestyle with Dunia Tozy, and today I'm joined by the lovely Jessica Birak of Mint and Birch. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Beautiful sunny days.
Yeah.
So, Jessica, you are a jewelry maker, and you're also a mom of 4 kids. So, tell us a little bit about your business and yourself.
So I'm a mom of 4. I started my business as a hobby, and I started making little nest necklaces, and I gave them to my mother-in-law and my mom, and it just kind of one thing led to another, and then it slowly grew and grew, and I added more products, and so now I do hand stamping on gold fill and sterling silver. And what is really special to me about my business is not just that I make necklaces, but I get to celebrate stories, and I get to hear stories of, of loss and joy, and I just feel so honored that women ask me to share. And recently I have been a little bit more personal on my Instagram feed, and so I guess my feed is kind of like a plethora of like microblogging and also of necklaces. So I'm not really sure what it's at, but my motto is that, you have to enjoy what you do, and if it looks funny to other people, that's okay. And if your heart is in the right place, then it all works out.
You know what? But I think that authenticity is what attracted a lot of people to your Instagram page and to your jewelry. Why do you think people are gravitating towards this jewelry?
Well, to be honest, when I first started, it was all about posting necklaces and just taking orders and, doing my own thing and having an excuse to buy supplies to make pretty things, because I love working with my hands. But my customers actually really inspired me to share my own stories as I watched them celebrate their own stories. They asked me to, make a necklace to celebrate this, to celebrate that. And I thought to myself, wow, that's like really amazing. And, before my business, I would have wished my whole story away. But because of other customers and just like the moms I meet, not even customers, just people in passing that talk about my business or that like message me with an inquiry that maybe they don't order. But every single time somebody messages me, I get inspired to share my own story and to, and I guess in a way it's kind of like started like a circle of sharing. Kind of sounds cheesy. So I think that's what people really love, is that, they know their stories have worth, they know their stories have value, and they know their stories are part of who they are, and it should always be cherished. And I think that that's what people love. It's not necessarily my necklaces. People just know that their stories are incredible, and I guess they like that, they can get something physical to celebrate it.
Right, and to see the face behind the
Yeah.
person who's making this, and you're making all of this by hand yourself.
Yeah, my nails are pretty bad.
So tell me a little bit about your workshop. Like, where do you get to do this at home, or?
So we were in a townhouse before, and I worked out of the garage. Now I have a workshop slash shed. It is a workshop. It's got walls. It's got lights and electricity. But I mean, it's not the most glamorous.
Right.
But it works.
It does the job, right?
Yeah. And to be honest, when I'm filing, there's dust everywhere. I'm cutting the bars. I'm cutting it out of sheets, and it's not that glamorous anyway. So.
Yeah. And you're doing that while balancing your 4 kids, right?
Yeah.
So how hard is it? How hard does it get when to balance the 2?
I think that it's all about perspective for me, because as a type A personality, sometimes I like things to be a certain way, and
and I guess with kids,
you can't do that.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've been struggling, but also learning to understand that balance is it goes up and down, and sometimes my business will need more, sometimes my kids will need more. The juggling part, I wish I had the answer to that.
Yeah.
I'm honestly winging it, but I think that it's all about anchoring yourself to things that will, remind you of why you do what you do. And sometimes I'll be working until 3 a.m. Sometimes, but other days I'll sleep in. So it's all about kind of being flexible,
Right.
which is kind of hard as a type A.
I know it's sometimes we think of the word balance, but really, is there actually a balance?
No, I don't
right?
think so. I think that, it's all about perspective. And for me, I wish I could be on top of everything all at once. But sometimes my kids will need more, and I'm a mom first. And so, it's balance is ever changing. So.
Exactly. Speaking of your kids, you've got 4, one of which is 4 months old. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that.
So I have Noah, he's 7 years old. He just turned 7 in April. Declan, he's 4. And Juliet is 2. She's in her terrible 2s right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And Willow is 4 months. Not a newborn anymore.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Still a baby, tiny
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
So what's the most rewarding part about working at home and having your kids around as well?
For me, it's the flexibility. Again, it kind of goes back to the balance of, I can choose when I want to work, even if it's, 2 a.m. in the morning. But I also love that, like, I can be home and work at the same time sometimes. So sometimes, like, I'll be doing emails and I'll be nursing somebody. I feel like when your passion really aligns with, your like the way you make a living, it's really powerful because for me, Mint and Birch does provide for a family, but at the same time, like, it's not really about that for me because I'm more focused on like why I love what I do, and I'm more focused on the stories I get to tell.
So speaking of your business, where does the name Mint and Birch come from?
So I rebranded, how many years ago? A couple years ago, from another name, Woodland Owl Trinkets, which was a mouthful, a little embarrassed about it, but Mint and Birch came from a painting that Noah and I worked on together.
Oh.
And so I had these like blank canvases I bought from like the dollar store or something, and I taped it up with some painter's tape, like in strips, and then I gave Noah the canvases.
Oh my gosh.
And then I like gave him like mint paint, and he went like nuts. I gave him like white, I gave him green and blue, and like it mixed together to make mint. And then I peeled back the tape and it looked like there were birch trees on the painting. I should have brought it, but that's where the name comes from.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you still have that hung in your house?
Yeah, I do.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. So did you ever think that you'd be doing this? Did you ever think that it's going to go this far and that you're going to be so successful that way?
No, because I actually went to school, university, and I was getting my psychology degree.
Oh my
and
gosh, wow.
I even did my thesis, and the intention was that I would go on to get my master's in counseling psychology, and I wanted to work with girls with eating disorders. And that's still kind of, in the back of my mind, like I haven't closed that door yet. But we got pregnant.
Oh.
And, like we always knew that we wanted our kids, like slightly close together. And this is not where I would have imagined myself to be. But I'm glad that it's gotten me here because I think that the amount of connections I've made, like through this business, has been so like valuable. And it's been more fulfilling than I had ever imagined it to be.
What I love about you and your jewelry is like how authentic you are. I do watch your Instagram stories and I'm always amazed by the rawness and you just talk to everybody as if they're your friend. But how hard is it for you? And because you don't make it seem so hard.
So I guess a little bit of a backstory of this was about, I guess Juliet's like 2.5 now. 2.5 years ago, I had a C-section, and it was an emergency C-section, and it was something you would see out of an ER. And anyways,
Traumatic experience.
Right, it was very traumatic, and I've written about it. And at that time was right before the Christmas rush, and so
Oh my gosh, okay.
like people were asking where's my order, and everything was still on schedule. Like everything was ready to go. It just needed to be taken to the post office. And so I guess I had printed off the labels, and then obviously there was like a lag of a day before I could get somebody to drop it off at the post office for me because I was in the hospital. And people were just asking and asking and asking, and I was like, you know what? I just need to be honest, and I just need to say, hey, look, like this is what happened. Don't worry, your packages are still on schedule. It's being taken to the post office, tomorrow. And I had a friend who so graciously offered to take my like 7 boxes of orders to the post office for me. And I shared, and I said, I had a really hard experience and I'm feeling really raw right now. And the amount of support that poured in afterwards was amazing. And the most powerful part that I got out of it was that women were messaging me saying, I had a C-section too. I felt this way too. And it was like, me too, me too, me too. And it made me realize that, again, we're all so much more connected than we think we are. And so I guess I just like started to share, and I just started to like share about my experiences. And I've also learned that writing is like really therapeutic for me. So a lot of the things I share on Instagram, they're more of a diary entry, and they're things that I write to myself to process. And like I guess I just eventually started slowly, tiptoeing in and sharing, and people like loved reading other people's experiences, and so
because
I
they
thought
can relate
like
with it,
right, and so I thought like why not? And it is very scary to be vulnerable. It's very scary to be raw, and like most of the time, like people are very receptive. People were commenting, and then people were responding to the other comments, and people were chatting with each other, and people were like, oh, I'm gonna message you, and like to see how like one post can foster like a community of
you created
like,
a community
of like like it takes a village to raise a child. And I think like moms like scroll on their phones like while they're breastfeeding, and I think that moms do that because like when we're feeding our kids, when we're at home taking care of our kids, sometimes that can be really isolating. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it is really scary to be vulnerable and raw, but at the same time, if it helps one mom feel less alone, then it's all worth it.
Totally. So Jessica, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So my Instagram handle is Birch, and I'm on Facebook as Birch, and my website is www.mintandbirch.com.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank
here
you.
today. I really appreciate you
Thank you for
coming
having
here,
me.
having 4 kids and managing your business and the kids at the same time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and check us out on social media at Parenthood Lifestyle. Thanks so much and see you later.